so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads. Welcome to a very special episode dedicated to none other than you, the pea heads themselves. I am your pea head enthusiast and hostess for the day, Alexa Hauser. I have been blessed to have the experience of helping out with Positive Head's social media for the better part of a year. And through my digital interactions, I began to realize, as did Brandon, that we have some incredible beings listening to this show who are taking the information that Brandon puts out through the podcast and using it to transform their lives and create wonderful things. You listeners are all a huge, huge part of the life force that propels this show forward through time and space, and we think it's time to bring forth some of you beautiful reflections and delve a little deeper into this collection of energy that is the Positive Head community. So as we shine the spotlight on our listeners, what we'll have them do is share their stories of how they attracted Positive Head into their life, the transformation it's facilitated for them, and what they're focused on creating now that they're in a more positive headspace. Also, this episode of the Positive Head podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Hello, all you positive heads. On this week's Pea Head Posse episode, our guest is Positive Head listener Corey Pugliese. Corey is a multidimensional master of audio and visual, as well as an active dreamer, adventurer, and warrior of light. Hey, Corey, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for actually agreeing to say that.
No, I love that intro. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, I figured you asked me to introduce myself or find a way to introduce myself, so I figured I'd go all out, if I can't, find something.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you a little bit about that. I'm curious about this master of audio and visual thing.
I question that myself, but no, I've always kind of, especially like in life, just been like a visual learner, been someone who's been drawn to music and the arts. So, I just figured that'd be a really good thing. Oh, and somebody actually had mentioned it before that they really, just the way that I spoke reminded them of a master of audiovisual. So I was just like, yeah, I guess that kind of does make sense.
Wow.
Yeah. Funky, yeah.
That's great.
As for the other stuff, the multidimensional stuff, that's just me having fun.
Yeah. We're all aspiring to that for sure.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
But I mean, you're an active dreamer. Is that true?
I'm sorry, say that again. I got a little choppy.
It's okay. I said, but are you an active dreamer? Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I actually have been writing down dreams for the past probably year now. Like every day, if I have some type of dream that I can remember, I try and write it down and somehow like analyze it and relate it to my life. Which the more you'd write, it's fascinating what you learn about yourself.
Have you cracked the code yet? The code to yourself?
Yes and no. You have days where you figure something out and it's just like a little thing and it helps you kind of like, understand just like that aspect of you, and then you do it again and then maybe you have no idea what the hell you were dreaming about.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely. I've been trying to get better at dreaming, actually. I've been really bad at dreaming for the past few years, and I'm like really actively working on it, so maybe you can give me some tips.
Oh yeah, I would certainly recommend, like, if you want to get into it, just like start researching a lot, looking up books, and just really kind of going through your day constantly in an awareness that this is one big dream. Mm-hmm. The more you do that, the more I think your just subconscious actively knows that, like, hey, dreaming is important. It's all just one big dream. We're all doing this, and everything has some type of meaning to it.
Yeah.
So when you actually go to dream, you start to have a better awareness inside of the dream.
Definitely. You know, it's funny. Sometimes I have this awareness that you're talking about where suddenly I go, wait, this is kind of just either like a dream or like I'm playing a game and I'm the main character. And then suddenly I look around at the simplest things, like literally a piece of like a straw wrapper or something, and I go, whoa, this is so cool. Now that I'm looking at it like that, you know, whereas before I'm like, oh, straw wrapper, like get out of, where's the trash? But I just had that moment right before we got on where I was like, this straw wrapper is kind of awesome if I'm thinking about it as if I'm, you know, in a video game or it's something to explore, you know, it's
so fantastic that you say video game, because like I grew up on video games. That was like my big thing as a kid, and I still love it till today. But like, you know, everything that's inspired me has almost been from there. And I go through like every day thinking and trying to relate to somehow in some way video games, how it relates, and how, you know, we're all in control of it at some point.
So true. So true. And it also kind of I think some people get a little turned off when I brought this up before, and some people get a little like, well, it's not exactly a video game. And I'm like, but it's kind of cool to think about it as if it is, because it feels like you have more power, as you were just saying, like you're in control and it feels like anything can happen. Whereas when we think of it like this is just life, it feels so dense and unchangeable, and like we're being subject to something.
I think a lot of people just look third dimensionally, and they don't really like look past what's possible. Because like in a video game, a lot of life or like you're free to kind of go about, you know, it depends on the game. But let's say you're playing like, you know, Mario game, you know, you're kind of free to go explore and jump on things. But like, it's up to you to jump on things. It's not like anybody's forcing you to jump on things. But like in the code, like, of course the code is written and there's already like a 3D space that's meant for you to go about and do things. But it's up to you. You have the free will to do it.
Yep. Exactly. It's I would just put it out there to anyone. If you're having a really bad day, it's really helpful to think, well, this is just a video game. That's what I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just have fun with it, you know, go out, do some silly stuff. And I mean, obviously don't do anything, society would deem unworthy, but
like explore all the different, what do you call it in video games where there's like Easter eggs and stuff. It's like, try to find the Easter eggs. Like they
find all the secrets and all the little nooks and crannies.
Explore places you haven't explored before, because there might be some extra points there. So tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe like a little bit of your story and how you eventually found the podcast.
Sure. Yeah. How I found the podcast. It was pretty funny. Mostly because like everybody says, you know, they're on their spiritual journey their whole life, and until that moment where they realize they're on their spiritual journey. But it was really like, I'd say 2016, started around like April. I turned 25, and it kind of was this pivotal year where I was just like, wow, I'm a quarter of a century years old. And just so much was happening in my life. So many bad things. You had the election going on, and that was a real damper for some reason. And then just so many other things. And actually what happened was, me and my friends decided to partake in some psychedelics that for a birthday weekend, and we went to the forest, and I really just kind of got so lost in my mind that I almost went crazy to a certain extent. I was just in a dark place, and you really have to kind of bring an awareness to it, which I just didn't do, and I had done it before. So doing it that one time just really kind of like blew me open, and coming out of it just made me kind of like learn that I need to reflect on myself. Cause I knew like whatever I was experiencing wasn't me. I wasn't happy with it, and I wanted something completely different. And then as time went on, I got my first like real office job, and I was just working it, and I was really kind of depressed. The people were not nice. The people I was working for were just, very, very judgmental, and thought they knew how life was. And they're like, "Oh, you're just going to be, doing this for the rest of your life." And I was like, I cannot do this. This is going to make me go crazy. This is not all there is to life. Mm-hmm. And the place was like at least an hour away. So I'd be driving every day, needing something to listen to. And one day, just in my frustration, and this was like around November. So again, Donald Trump just won presidency, and I'm just like, what is going on? Mm-hmm. And so I was just like, I need to do something about this. So I just, like everybody else, I feel, typed positive into the iTunes page, and there it was. Found the podcast, and I've been a devout listener ever since.
It's so funny because everyone has almost the exact same story, and it's such a simple kind of story that something in their brain said type in positive to the to Apple Podcasts, and this is what they found. But for some reason, while you were telling your story, it clicked in my head. It almost is like some signal went out to everybody, and when they were ready, they picked it up, and that was the activation. It was like automatically type in positive, and it brought everyone here.
It was like, I don't know, like what made me do it, because like I'm not the kind of person, or at least back then, I feel like I wouldn't have been the person that would have do that, like just randomly search a word, mm-hmm. and there it was,
Mm-hmm. Same. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and like it's just funny because now looking back, it's like it just all makes sense. It's just like that was the plug in the outlet that just sparked everything from there on out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's what happened to me. And now I'm thinking back on it, and I actually remember the moment that I found it. I was like sitting in the dark in my living room after not being able to sleep for like the fourth night in the row because I was so freaked out about like being awake, both literally and like just awakened, and not knowing what to do and feeling so scared, and just typing that in and it being like this instant kind of answer to an asking. So it's really cool. It's really cool to think about that. Well, so since you've been listening to the podcast, you've been a devout listener. What influence has it had on your life?
Just so much in terms of like researching and going into what it means to be like consciously aware, and really just getting in touch with who I am as a human being and what my purpose is. Before that, like I always knew I was, I don't want to sound like, oh yeah, I always knew what I was doing with my, but I always knew I was like, meant for something more than what I was actually doing. Mm-hmm. And I just had that draw and that pull, whatever it was always there. It never went away. Even despite like, people saying, oh, life sucks, don't even bother, blah, blah, blah. It never left me. Mm-hmm. So I think like hearing at least like Brandon talk about, all this kind of stuff really sparked that first flame that said, hey, you actually are in control of everything that does happen to you. And that's beyond empowering. And that was like all I needed to hear, was that I'm not the only person that's crazy out there. Meeting like just all these people on Facebook through the group, through the Positive Head group. It's just amazing to see like my I don't want to like call us insane, but we're all like wonderfully insane together.
Totally. I agreed. It's really, and I would say that over time, the more that we've all come together, from my perspective, it feels like we're realizing that we're not insane at all. We're actually really sane, and the world around us has been a bit insane. And it feels really good to, at least from my perspective, to understand and come to understand more and more that we're really on the front line of this like soul revolution right now.
Yes, and absolutely.
And not to say that we're any better, than people who are taking longer, but we're playing a specific part. And that's also why I think it's been so hard for a lot of us for as we've been going into adulthood, especially, or maybe why a lot of us have had difficult childhoods. It's almost like we asked for those situations to prepare us for this moment because, our triggers are our treasures. Our pain is where, I forget the quote, but I've been learning this past week that, the depths of our pain is essentially, corresponds perfectly to the depths of our joy or the heights of our joy. It's like I feel like we have these battle scars that we all can actually wear as medals almost once we realize what they've given us in terms of our power, and once we realize how that applies to this moment in time. So it's kind of cool to start thinking of it that way,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree 400%. That's literally how I feel just every day. Is this almost like we are this kind of, you don't want to say chosen people, but that's how you feel. You are like the one. You are the person who is going to change the world because you are the only person that even exists to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And you need to go through those things. And I was just thinking about this the other day, actually. This weekend was very synchronistic for me. And basically what happened, I was going through my life and kind of looking back at all this kind of like darkness and what I had always wanted, and just looking at how I feel now and having these synchronicities pop up and bubble up made me just kind of tear up a little and really realize that, hey, it has all been worth it. And that has really it felt so good when I just felt that, because it just made sense.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like during those dark times, it feels like, why is this happening to me? And once you come to the other side of that and you come to, this place that it seems like you are now, it's so amazing to look back and go, oh, that's why that happened to me. And thank you. I just didn't see the full picture then, but it's so wonderful to have that broader perspective and realize you've grown because now you're able to see why that happened. Whereas before you had such a small scope, such a small perspective of what was really going on here. And it's so true. Yeah.
That's actually exactly like last week. We were supposed to record this last week or 2 weeks ago. And I'm really glad that we didn't, because at the time I was like a few bad things were happening to me. And I was just like, like everything is going wrong. What the heck? Yeah. And like, I'm really glad we didn't, because then I wouldn't have, been excited about this, and I wouldn't have been really like in the mood to like really get deep and go crazy.
Yeah.
It's definitely like at the time, like you don't see the bigger picture. You just look at one little thing, and then when you look back, you're like, oh yeah, and you got to realize like that's happening all the time.
Yep. Absolutely. It's really nice. It's really nice to realize the ebbs and flows of life, and to realize that this is something else I just learned. For a long time, I believed that whenever I was, that life was a series of peaks and valleys. And when I was in a valley, I would be like, oh, like I'm like, damn it, like I'm in this valley again, like, like, well, now I got to get out of this thing. And I'd look at it like, oh, I messed up type of thing, or like, oh, like here I am again. Now I have to work so hard to get out.
Yeah. How could I do that? What's wrong with me? I was so good.
Yeah. Like, oh, I was on such a good streak. Like, how could I do this to my streak? And, this past week, I had this profound understanding that life is an actual roller coaster, and and we need those valleys. We need them. They're part of it. And they're what allows us to experience the thrill of going down the roller coaster. If we didn't have the valleys, we wouldn't have like the fun where we screamed or we're like, woo, like we'd just be in.
It's amazing that you say that, because I literally just like this weekend I wrote something exactly like that. Wait, let me see if I could just pull it up real quick. I wrote this down. Follow the path of least resistance. Put your hands up and enjoy the ride. It's going to get scary, but if you trust the ride as you do a roller coaster,
Whoa.
at the end you will experience nothing but great, tremendous jubilation.
Whoa, synchronicity. I love that.
Yeah.
Do you write? Are you a writer or you just journal or?
No, whenever I have an idea, I'll just like quickly jot it down or like, do like on my iPhone, put on the voice thing so it just quickly grabs it.
That's great. Yeah, I feel like we all have so much great insight coming through right now. It's awesome to look at those little nuggets, But well, so what are you working on now? Are you still working at the job an hour away or what's going on with you?
No, I actually Positive Heads actually got me to quit, and it's another crazy, hilarious synchronicity story where I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit. I'm going to just work on myself. I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to work out. I'm going to do meditation. And within like the first week of my 2 weeks notice, I got another job.
Wow.
and I've been doing that ever since. I've been editing wedding videos.
Whoa.
Which is cool. I'm certainly getting to a point in my life where I'm realizing that I am meant to do something more than just that.
Yeah.
At first, it was very nice, and like it's awesome to be involved in someone's like it's their most important day of their life, and it's awesome to create something that's beautiful for them and that they can kind of see and watch whenever they want. But I think that my purpose is elsewhere in terms of consciousness and this kind of work in general.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of want to go with the future. I have a few plans just to kind of go out there, go exploring, do a little adventuring, kind of find myself a little bit more, and just kind of get into it.
Well, if you like editing video, I'm working on a project right now. That's all about consciousness and healing and all this stuff that I'm about to start editing. So if you want to give me some feedback or
certainly.
I'll tell you more about that later. But
see the funny connections you make.
Yeah, seriously, because I've edited all my life on and off, and it's so funny. This project just kind of dropped on my lap, and now I'm about to go full on back into editing, and it's something that I just haven't really done with something I really love. And so I'm really trying not to put a lot of pressure on myself, but it's exciting because it's exciting. It's what you're talking about moving towards. And I was also thinking though, when you were talking about, you're editing wedding videos, I can't help but think about another thing that I've been learning is like, I think when I first got into spirituality and consciousness and even started listening to this podcast and became obsessed with Abraham Hicks and so on and so on, I had this belief that oh no, now I have to leave everything behind and I can't have a normal life because now I'm on the spiritual path, and so that means like I can only watch spiritual things and I can only hang out with spiritual people. And I had the same exact feeling when I first like kind of like when I was actually on my like psychedelic trip. Like I was like, shoot, now I'm gonna be a monk for the rest of my life. I'm never gonna get married. I'm gonna have to sit in a room and not talk and never eat. Exactly. I'm assuming like most of us probably have, now that you've said that, I feel like maybe a lot of people listening have had that like fear, like, oh no, I have to abandon everything and everyone and all the normal things and I can't watch TV anymore. And but I've been coming to this realization that most of us, I don't think, are meant to go become monks or go abandon everything and go live in the woods. It's, I think that why we signed up to, have this experience of awakening and be on this front line is because we're going to develop ourselves through communities like this and through retreats and through experiences. We're going to be the seekers, and we go out and we find the information, and then we're going to come home. And when we come home, we're going to bring it right back into our community, right back into our family, right back into all the people who are still asleep, no matter what's going on. And we are going to be that lighthouse and be that human crystal, as I like to call it. Like we are bringing it back home. It's not that we're supposed to go leave everything, because if we all went and left everything and we all just went out to the woods by ourselves, well, we'd eventually have no problems anymore because we'd just be this community of really conscious people, and we'd get
we wouldn't fix anything.
but we get bored and we have nothing to do because we'd all be so elevated and conscious. And so for me, it's been kind of healing to realize, no, my what I'm meant to do is actually evolve and then bring it home and set the example, and in that way allow the people around me to evolve. And so, it's going back to you and the wedding video editing, it's like, I think a lot of us are probably going to be in jobs at a certain point along this path that aren't necessarily quote unquote conscious or spiritual, but we have the opportunity to bring that into that industry. We have the
I see it as like almost like a karmic relationship with the job itself.
Yeah.
Because it might not be there for your specific, purpose and your passion, but it's there to teach you to get to your passion, or it's a stepping stone,
Definitely.
it's the next step to the next thing. And I actually wanted to bring up, I think it was an older episode of the podcast where Brandon interviewed Teal Swan. And she mentioned that he was a very, very good at being the bridge person between the two worlds, between like the normal everyday life and the like spiritual world, the spiritual people. Yeah. And I kind of feel like a lot of us who are really in sync with this podcast, it's all a big reflection. All of us who are really trying to get out there and be active, we're all just like Brandon. We want to be that bridge person that brings the conscious awareness to the masses or to people who really need it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And yeah, Brandon is such a good example of that. And I think like what we're all doing is just kind of trying to help make each other stronger right now so that we can be those examples and infiltrate, the communities where people are still asleep and be that influence. So yeah. It's awesome to think about. So what is one thing you think would benefit every P head to know or to understand as they continue on their own journey? Any insight from you or something that you learned that really helped?
Yeah, there's like billions of things I'm sure I could bring up right now. To really kind of just for everyone that's just kind of listening, I guess, just to know that no matter what you do, you're always on the right path, and that. Even though things may appear and you're gonna have bad days, and it really is this giant pattern of life where like you go through good and you go through bad. But the way I see it is life always trumps itself in that sense, where it gets better and then you go back one step and then two steps and then back one step and then two steps and then back one step. So you're always kind of backtracking to a certain extent so you can kind of really gain a better footing and then you hop forward. And I think like I always kind of like to compare it to history. Like if you think about it, like back in the day, a couple thousand years ago, they were building houses with sticks, that didn't last long because those can break down easily. Then, a couple of thousand years later, they built things with stone and that was pretty good, but then those started to break. Then, after that, they started getting more advanced and they started using steel and all that kind of metals and stuff like that. And now that's really strong. But eventually, that has to break too. And so on and so forth. It's just always going to be this, never ending trying to perfect life to a certain extent. And it's going to get really good. It might, you might crumble a little bit, but you're going to build it right back up.
I love that. I love how you're talking about the infrastructures and the different materials and always evolving. I mean, it's like we all get a new iPhone every year. It's like we're constantly updating. Totally agree. And to that, we're never going to get it done. That's like it's been a big lesson for me to learn. And I think it's one of the biggest lessons that we can learn as a planet. Yeah. That like, where are you trying to go? Like where are you racing to? Like, we've always kind of been, I feel, taught let's go faster, faster. Like we got to get it done. We got to get it done. And it's like, but why? What is the deadline? We're eternal, you know, and it's not about getting it done. It's really about slowing down and enjoying and really being in this moment, because even I was on a retreat with Sonia Sophia, which I mentioned to you last week in Austin, Texas. And we were in this house on this land that was the most beautiful space I've just ever been at. And I didn't wear shoes once for 10 days. I just walked around in like all these wildflowers and in this beautiful wood house. And I think I really learned to slow down there for the first time. I just learned to be in the moment. And when I came back, I've been back for 2 days, and yesterday I got back and I experienced a day living in the moment in my normal environment, back in city of Philadelphia in my apartment, which is in the city, doing all the things. But I experienced actually being in the moment, where I was like, I'm only going to do what calls to me in this exact moment. And I could hear my intuition very clearly. I woke up with a message that said, go get a tattoo now. And I did. And I did.
Oh,
and,
wow.
the tattoo says, listen. And
That's awesome.
and it's all right next to my heart. So it's like, listen to this always, always. And so I had this whole day where I was like, yes, I'm listening. I'm hearing everything finally. Like, I can feel what I want to do. I can feel what I don't want to do. And today I can feel that suddenly it's not as clear. B, I'm moving a lot faster with a lot like automatically. It feels like someone sped me up overnight or something. Someone like wound me up a little bit more. And I'm like, I'm feeling it like, whoa, hold on. I didn't even think about this. And suddenly a decision's being made, or suddenly I'm saying yes to something that I'm not even, it's kind of like, I can feel that happening. And so today I looked at this as a gift, because I said to myself, this day was sped up for me to realize that I am in control of the speed, that I set the day, and that what I want to do is live a day where I'm enjoying the moment, where I'm enjoying just being, where I'm not like, I have to get this done, where I'm enjoying the moment so much that a message could come through that says, go get a tattoo, and I'll go do it, you know, because it feels good. And
just following that flow is really what it comes down to. And that's actually a lesson that I learned this weekend too.
Yes.
It was my friend's birthday actually, and we went to a bar in Jersey City. And like one of the big things, I was really kind of like out of alignment, and I felt it. And I told myself I need to kind of like separate from this. So I took my time. I left my friends. I kind of just sat, you know, in a stool seat, and just kind of noticed the entire room. And I realized like nobody was looking at me. They were just doing their own thing. And I just kind of listened. I got in tune with myself. I got back up after a couple minutes, went back over to my friends, was just really like listening. And when you know, I could chime in, I'd chime in real quick. And I'm like often a vocal person. I'll go off on tangents if I accidentally do. And I always apologize afterwards, because I'll like say stupid stuff. And that's another thing is like, you know, being a spiritual person, that's all you want to talk about. That's 24/7. And people are just like, all right, there he goes again. But like, I was able to like really listen and kind of like wait for a moment to just kind of like chime in and be like, you know what, like, let's talk about it. And like, I really kind of did that. And for the first time I noticed like, when I was able to really slow it down and listen and like wait to pounce, it was almost as if for the first time ever, people were actually listening to me, like really paying attention to me, because I pay attention to them.
Yes.
So it was this beautiful like give and take of like, oh my God, because I've always been a terrible communicator. I'll flub on my words. I'll just go off. Yeah. But just being able to like have that awareness and bring it to everyday life has been, it's awesome.
That's exactly why I got that tattoo, because I have always known a lot and been like a researcher and always been like understanding. I feel like I've always been looking for answers and information that a lot of people just kind of are like, don't care about. But I'm thinking this is so helpful. Like, I want to help people. I want people to know this. Things can be better, type of thing. And yeah, I've had a problem with listening. And it's been a huge thing for me to start to understand exactly what you just said, that the reason that people won't let you talk, basically, and won't listen to you is because you're not listening to them. It's like, and when you do listen to them, as you just demonstrated with that story, when you actually listen and don't need to talk, you just are listening and waiting for a moment where it would be right to talk, then you give them space, and then they feel heard, and then they will give you space. But I don't know if you listened to the episode that Brandon released this morning where he was talking about this exact thing. It's totally synchronous. And he said he learned that exact lesson this weekend about, that he's always been trying to, assert his opinion and tell people why they're not right, and learning that, he doesn't always have to assert his opinion. He can just listen and then say, if you want to hear my opinion, let me know. And it really, I think you're onto something, because it's really about giving people space. We don't give people space, and we act as if we'll never have another chance to talk or to educate or to help in our life,
Yeah, because everybody is like a reflection of you. So if they're a reflection of you, what would you would want somebody to listen to you. So you almost have to be that person who does it first, because it's a karmic exchange of you doing it for someone else and not expecting it to return to you. But because you don't expect it, it does anyway.
You get what you expect, and what I can say is, listening and slowing down is, I heard maybe it was Abraham who said it, but they said something like, when you feel like you have no time and you need to speed up and you need to get something done, that's when you need to slow way, 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 way down. Because when you're feeling like you got to do this thing, you got to get it done, or you got to speed up, it's like that just brings more of that energy to you. So people, things, other people who don't have patience or time or anything, it just brings more. So it's really interesting. Like you said, it's all about us. It's all about being the example and starting with us. So totally. Oh man. Well, so I have another question for you. How would you like to see the Positive Head community expand?
Yeah. Oh, geez. I would love. It's kind of hard to really do it, because the wonderful thing about Positive Heads is that it's really kind of gone global in a way, where you got people in Australia who listen to it. You have people across on the East Coast, on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are all over the place. But what I would really love to see is more like actual contact, like with people in person.
Yeah.
Whether that be like a Positive Head festival or what have you. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that's definitely in the vortex.
I definitely feel like something has been boiling for a while now, because just talking to these people online is wonderful in and of itself. But I feel like being able to make that connection in real life, it just adds that level of, it adds that third dimensional level to it, and really grounds it in reality. Because I've been talking to a lot of P heads recently. I actually have to give a shout out to, and I'm going to butcher his name, and I'm really sorry, to Kwame. I think it's Achumpong.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
sorry, I totally butchered that.
Sounds like you did a good job, but only Kwame can tell us.
Right. I know. Yeah. Well, my last name ain't easy either. And then also Forest Tailspin. The three of us have really been, talking a lot recently about just the nature of, our society and life and what it means to be a leader in these days. And the three of us just kind of talking and discussing, like looking into synchronicities and the media and what our muses are and what's been kind of drawing us to do what we want to do and be leaders in this field. And just talking to them, like it's just so amazing to find out that like your soul is their soul, and they are exactly you, and they want the same exact thing you want. that's just one of the great things about Positive Head. That really is awesome.
Absolutely. I love that. And yes, I resonate with that deeply. And getting people together in person is it's definitely next on the list for sure. We'll see how that manifests exactly, but like I said, it's definitely in the vortex. And oh man.
So much good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, totally. And it's great. It's great that people are, connecting and finding their own, little subgroups within the group. That's awesome to hear. And wait, this is a random question. It just kind of popped into my head. Were you already on the show one time with Colby, or was that another?
No, I was actually on Ross's podcast, the Spiritual Phoenix podcast.
Okay. I don't know why I thought you were on doing a reading with Colby on one episode that we had Colby Psychic Rebel on, but that must have been another.
It might have been a different
maybe it was
because I think I remember that.
Yeah. Oh, and Ross was just on here with me. Ross is great. He's great. He gave me. What did you guys talk about on that episode?
Oh, just like metaphysical craziness and being in control of your own reality, being your own God and whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
Well, plug for Ross's show. Go check out the Spiritual Phoenix with Corey on it. Absolutely. If you want to hear more of Corey. So last question here. Do you have an intention for 2018? I created an intention with a group of Positive Heads. We have like another little subgroup that we made. Oh. And I remember just asking them like, hey, what do you guys want? Like, if you could embody 2018 in one word, what would it be? And a lot of people said their stuff. And I just, like the first thing I said was freedom. I would like 2018 to be about freedom, about being able to express myself physically, mentally, emotionally, really being able to get out there, not be confined to one place, in one job, in one, thing, and really explore, get out there and go on an adventure. I've been hearing the call to adventure like crazy lately, which is so weird. Yo, we should start a Positive Heads adventure group. That is, you just like put me in a trance just by saying what your intention is. I'm like, oh, that's just music to my ears right now. It sounds like the best thing ever, going on an adventure.
It's so funny because I've been feeling a call to two places: major call to Australia and a major call to Costa Rica. Both places have been like, everybody's talking about Costa Rica. Brandon's talking about Costa Rica. A couple P heads in the group are talking about Costa Rica, and it just sounds so alluring.
There's so many, and those two places are on my list as well, and definitely very spiritual places. I think there's like Australia's got like a lot of vortexes in it or something like that. There's some magic about Australia. But and Costa Rica, and there's all these, eco retreats and things popping up all over the place, and all these we have to at least organize a Positive Heads group trip. Okay? Okay, you guys.
I'm in.
All right.
Hands up,
okay.
I'm in.
I think that's next on the list before the big festival or event. So we'll look forward to that and see how that manifests. But is there anything else before we go, Corey?
I don't really have like anything to plug or anything like that, but I do want to just like tell anybody listening, like if they want to reach out to me, like I'm on Facebook, I'm in the group. If they ever want to talk philosophy or some crazy stuff or metaphysics, please, I'm looking for anybody and anyone who has like wonderful insight, and let's chat, let's have a discourse. Let's make something too. I'd love to make something.
Yeah, I would love to make something too. I've already the last guest we had on, Ramin, is an illustrator, and I've been talking to him about making some Positive Head books, which to me seem really cool. So we mentioned that on another episode. If anyone wants to make some stuff, let's make some stuff. But absolutely. Yeah, Corey, you are someone who, as soon as you messaged me and said you wanted to be on this series, I was like, yes, because you are someone that I always see commenting on the same things that I'm commenting on And every time I read your comments, I'm like, yes, this guy knows what's up. This guy is like on the same vibe. So
yes. Well,
yeah,
thank you.
so if you're looking for someone to give you some sound advice, some awesome words of wisdom, Corey is your guy. Yeah. Well, thank you, Corey. This was amazing. I'm really, really happy we did this 2 weeks after we were supposed to.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Well, no, thank you so much. Thank you, universe, for aligning this perfectly in the way it worked.
Thank you, universe. Awesome. Well, Corey, we will talk soon and journey well.
Yes. Thanks.
That's it for this week's episode. If you're a listener with a story to share and are interested in being featured on a future episode of this special series, you can email me at alexa@positivehead.com. Also, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear Brandon constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place we know of to do it. Period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Otherwise, tune in next Friday for another P-Head Posse episode. And until then, as Brandon always says, journey well.